So there's a big thing in the community right now about the death of Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel is killing the TCG. And this is kind of like a low-key response to that. I did see MBT's video talking about how Master Duel is killing the TCG. And while the video was great, he brought up some good points. I think he got a few things wrong. So I'm just gonna get my take on that. Once again, this is not me bashing him, so don't take it personal if you do watch this, sir. And yeah, any of his fanboys that interested in what I gotta say, check out the video. Make sure you guys subscribe for more. So first thing he talked about pretty much saying Master Duel is killing the TCG in regards to how Master Duel content is performing better than the TCG. And I specifically remember one of the things he said in his video was talking specifically about how the only competitive channel pretty much is Joshua Smith, and then competitive content is pretty much down across the board. So, as somebody who's been in the content creator space for Yu-Gi-Oh for a long time, way longer than MBT, even though he's surpassed me in subs, obviously. Competitive content on on YouTube for Yu-Gi-Oh has always been kind of crappy. I remember back when I got into the watch it before I was even a content creator. I used to watch dudes like 3Z Inferno, awesome OG YouTuber. If he was out right now playing competitive Yu-Gi-Oh, he'd be topping consistently just as much as people like Joshua Smith, just as much as people like Yassin and things like that. He was a really good competitive channel ahead of his time. And I remember watching him complain about back in the day. He said, and I quote, I hate doing videos because casual crap is getting more views than competitive crap. Eventually, he ended up quitting Yu-Gi-Oh altogether to pursue his business and owning a restaurant. But I remember specifically a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh creators back in the day, they really weren't creating competitive content like that. Casual content was king. Now we did have a few people like Robbie Cole do his gadget stuff. I came around the scene around 2013 doing my gadget stuff, doing some of my competitive content, and it got nowhere near the views as like the casual content with things from different people like Inch 95 with different discussion topics. My boy Slim X Team Symmetry, he did a bunch of competitive content, but I remember his casual content always doing better. And just different people across the board, like casual content on YouTube, not so hyper competitive, always perform better, especially in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Space. And the reason why I think that is because let's face the fact, man, competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! Visually is fucking boring. Like literally, when you're watching competitive Yu-Gi-Oh, you have no idea what's going on unless you play Yu-Gi-Oh. Now that may be a kind of like a common sense thing when you compare things like MTG, Pokemon, things like that. However, Yu-Gi-Oh has so many instances where there's so much stuff going on that one person can't just look at the field and then determine who's winning. When you have a game like Pokemon, you can at least see the prize side and see who has less prizes and think, okay, maybe I can ask a few questions. Hey, I see something more noticeable like a Mewtwo. I can kind of relate. Mewtwo has a bunch of energies on it. It might be doing good. Magic, that's always been a niche game, but it's always been really popular. That was always for like the old heads that play a card game. Yu-Gi-Oh, even though it should in theory be similar to Pokemon, a lot Yu-Gi-Oh was one of them things. While it was somewhat lightning in a jar like Pokemon, it ran its wave in the early 2000s and kind of slowly fell off to the point where if it ain't Blue Eyes White Dragon, Dark Magician Girl, most people don't know what the hell's going on. Like I had a lot of buddies that used to play Yu-Gi-Oh back in the day. They quit during the DM era, and every time they check in back watching my YouTube videos, they're like, "Hey man, I watch you because you my homie, but I don't know what the hell going on. I see these white cards, these black cards, I see these blue cards." And they just like, yeah, the game is doing too much. I even had a buddy of mine said he tried to hop on Master Duel and literally he just didn't like it because it was so many different things going on in a turn. It made it instantly turned him off and it made him want to play something different. Yu-Gi-Oh is just not user friendly. And like I said, it's been like this for a long time and it slowly has gotten worse throughout the years. Like I remember like Yu-Gi-Oh, in my opinion, the competitive Yu-Gi-Oh scene in general has been on a decline since the early 2000s to now. I vaguely remember, I ain't gonna say vaguely, I highly remember back in my day going to locals. Locals was at Galaxy Comic Zone, 30 to 40 players, 30 to 40 players every freaking Saturday. Now, granted, most people might say, yeah, well, that was just a different era. And, things have been like that in the most recent eras, like pre COVID, for example. I had a locals near me named TGS where they were getting 30 players, 40 players on a Friday or a Thursday. And now post COVID, they're getting like maybe 16, 20 people, if that. Like my local's Quality Game, and they barely get like 16, 20, 25 people, unless it's like a bigger tournament and they get more players that come up and show out. But it's the same people for a long time. It's been the same people playing for a long time. So I just think competitive Yu-Gi-Oh has been always on a slow decline, mainly due to the fact that we're not getting a lot of new players in. This is something I've personally talked about on my channel for since 2015, and that's mainly because the community has been complaining about the game since at the very least 2008, 2009, when synchros first came out, and watched how the game started to get sped up. And now back then the game was kind of like, okay, it's too much is going on. It's not. It's really kind of hard to learn back then, but nowadays it's really hard to learn because you have effects that don't do what they say when you read it. You have to really understand each effect and understand complicated rulings. Most other games aren't like that, and if they are, it's very few and far between. Now, as far as Yu-Gi-Oh, just being on a slow decline, like I said, it's been super complicated, man. Super complicated. Almost every card has a paragraph of 35 text. You have to understand the paragraph within a certain time frame, and you also have to be conscious of the clock before you lose to the clock. That is the most frustrating thing in the world. And tons of Yu-Gi-Oh players have said, "F it, we're done." Do you know how many times a lot of people go to locals and just they're playing their deck, they're trying to have fun, they got a nice cool deck, they're playing at a good pace. Their opponent starts slow playing, slow playing, slow playing, and they look at the clock and they slow play some more. And then next thing you know, somebody got cheated out of a win because their opponent literally slow played all game and then turned around, came back, and started playing fast within 30 seconds to attack for game and win for damage. There's a lot of things going on in Yu-Gi-Oh, and for what it's worth, a lot of players just get this, they get fed up and say F it. Yu-Gi-Oh is a nostalgia game to me. Yu-Gi-Oh is one of them games where it's like people play it still because we've been doing it forever. But as somebody who's kind of like at the point of my life where I've been playing Yu-Gi-Oh since I was 12 years old, and I'm now in my mid 30s, I can honestly say if I quit Yu-Gi-Oh back when I was a kid and didn't get back into it as an adult, I would not play Yu-Gi-Oh. Yu-Gi-Oh is like one of them games that's super not even that much fun. Let's talk about that for example. A lot of people say Yu-Gi-Oh is a fun game, so no, it's not. There's nothing fun about watching your opponent sit there and play with themselves for 5 to 10 minutes. And once again, this is not a doc at MBT's video. Like I said, this video is well put together. A lot of things he said is accurate because casual content do perform better on YouTube. But even when it's not casual content and it's competitive content, like literally, I can be watching a dueling book video or even someone dueling a live action duel video. Seeing someone literally think with their hand and play their turn for 5 to 10 minutes, and this has been going on at least since 2016, 2017, and then pass their turn and watching the opponent draw for their turn, look at the field, try to break it, realize they can't break it, scoop and go to game two. That's not entertainment at all. That is boring. And as somebody who's been on both sides of the table, where it's like I'm playing a complicated deck that takes 10-minute turns, and or I'm going against a deck that takes 10-minute turns, I can honestly say it's kind of like you're on autopilot. And this is how you know people really aren't enjoying it. It's because when they lose, they get super frustrated to the point where it's kind of like you wonder, are they frustrated because are they even having fun? Are they really even having fun? And I didn't realize this until I started getting into other hobbies. Like I know I've mentioned it 1,001 times on this channel, but this is my channel, so I'm going to mention it again. Beyblade X. Beyblade X is a new hobby for me. I've been a Beyblade fan forever, and as someone who plays that sport slash hobby, when I lose in that hobby, which I do lose a lot, I ain't gonna lie, getting better, I kind of get tilted a little bit, but I instantly laugh it off. Instantly laugh it off. But when I lose in Yu-Gi-Oh, it's kind of like, this game is frustrating. This game it makes you think like, why am I still playing this game? Because it's so stupid, right? Like I think honestly, there's a big portion of people who rarely enjoy playing Yu-Gi-Oh because if you only enjoy something when you're winning, you're not really enjoying it. You're just playing it just to be good at something. You're not playing it just because you actually enjoy playing the game. Now, obviously, there's people who still enjoy Yu-Gi-Oh. Like I got buddies who play every side event and every big event they go to. Me personally, and there's a lot of people like me. We go to our one event, we go home because we enjoy it for what it's worth, but it's more of a social thing. Now that's one thing I do like about in Stevie Blunder's reaction video that he did in MBT's video. He talked about how Yu-Gi-Oh is one of the things that get him out the house. And honestly, that's a lot of people. Like a lot of us are guys, a lot of us are nerds, and a lot of us don't really do the normal stuff like might party here and there, but our social activity is going to a card shop. And I think a lot of players, reason why Yu-Gi-Oh has had a big fall off throughout the years slowly is because honestly, Yu-Gi-Oh's been getting poached by other card games. There's so much competition now versus back in the day. It's not a surprise that Yu-Gi-Oh has fallen off. And then also too, you got to factor in, like I said, Master Duel ain't the main cause of this, but Master Duel is the new at Konami's new nest egg. And you not only do you have Master Duel, you have Dueling Book that kind of gives players an incentive just to stay at home and still enjoy Yu-Gi-Oh for what it is. Like, I think the chickens always come home to roost. People have been complaining about Yu-Gi-Oh for years on end, and Konami has. I want to say they tried their best to like balance. I want to say they tried their best to balance the game out, but really thinking about it, it was never to balance the game out. It was always to try to follow their bottom dollar. And when it comes down to how the game is ran right now, the reason why Nationals, as he mentioned in the video, felt like these are the last 2,800 players playing competitive Yu-Gi-Oh. It's because, if you want to be honest, it really was. Looking at the Dragon Duel area, it was I think it was like what less than 20 people. Like most kids do not play Yu-Gi-Oh. And the kids that do play Yu-Gi-Oh either had a parent like myself that played, that got them into the game, or an older sibling that played. Very few kids got into Yu-Gi-Oh by themselves from their own interest. I'm pretty sure they exist, but they're very few and far in between. Most kids that played Yu-Gi-Oh when I got back into Yu-Gi-Oh back in 2012, they're all adults now. Like Charlie Futch, for example, the guy who's been topping and winning YCSs. I remember seeing him as a kid back in the day. He didn't go to locals, but I remember seeing him at regionals. I'm like, oh, okay, it's a kid. He's doing good. And I remember having him in a vlog pre-lockdown, and he was 14 years old, just top 8 at regionals, and now the dude's doing good. Like that was like literally the last generation of kids playing Yu-Gi-Oh. Nowadays, most kids get in because they got an older brother, a dad, an uncle who taught them how to play and played. Most kids aren't getting to Yu-Gi-Oh that way, at least in the United States. So, for what it's worth, man, Yu-Gi-Oh's been on a decline for a while, and I'm glad the community is finally waking up. Like I said, I've been saying this for years on end, and people gave me shit for it. But now it's kind of like it's becoming a thing in the community where everyone's realizing, like, damn, the game is really falling off. And it's like, yeah, it's been like this for years. We have years of people complaining about how toxic the metagame is, complaining about tier zero formats, complaining about not getting a turn to play. When you have tier limits, a format where people are playing on the opponent's turn and their turn, this whole joke, our turn, it's kind of like, why do you even want to enjoy that type of game? Like maybe I'm just an old school player, but I truly can't stand decks that can play on either player's turn. Like obviously once you got your combo set up, that's one thing, but I hate decks that if I'm starting my first turn and my opponent can just use a monster in his hand to do stuff on my turn. It's kind of like that's really annoying. They literally set up their entire combo or half their combo on your turn, then they start their turn and finish you off. It's like you might as well just play that deck to give yourself the highest chance of winning. So to wrap this video up, man, once again, it's not a bash against MBT. Like I said, he makes good content. Clearly, he has a lot of subscribers, and his video was really good. And I know he's really known for his 10-minute testing. And his main points he made in his video was specifically talking about like how, at least this is what I got from it, of how like pretty much casual content, mainly masterful content, blows everything else out of the water on the YouTube platform. But once again, it's been that way from years. Even if you go to my small channel, if you go to my most popular videos from like 8 years ago, 7 years ago, it was all casual content. Like my most popular videos literally was all casual content, like top 10 spell cards or Yu-Gi-Oh movie trailer preview, like things like that. That's like my most viewed videos. And that's like across the board for everyone, with the exception of Joshua Smith. I don't want to talk about the Joshua Smith thing real quick. The reason why players like Joshua Smith, and I'll even go in the realm of saying Jesse Cotton, their channel get tons of views for them being Yu-Gi-Oh competitive content creators, it's mainly due to the fact that they're the cream of the crop. I think also too, a lot of us have to realize when it comes to competitive Yu-Gi-Oh content, and this is something I thought about myself, but I just said F it and still post what I want anyway, because it's just me. That's just me being me. most people want to watch the best do stuff. Joshua Smith has labeled himself as one of the best in the game. Therefore, he makes a channel to showcase his skill and knowledge about the game. And he's a good content creator. So when you have somebody that's the best and someone who is actually good at content creation, you're gonna have a good channel. Like players, old school pros from back in my day, like Billy Break and Jeff Jones, they did channels and things too. Kudos to them for doing it. But I think the reason why their channels didn't grow like a Joshua Smith channel is because I don't know if Josh pays for editors. He probably does, or if he does his editing himself. But the editing and the content creation is night and day. Like they're skillful, but their content creation game wasn't as strong. Joshua Smith got both content creation and skillful. So it's kind of like it goes neck and neck, and it's not a surprise on why his channel has a lot of views and a lot of subscribers because and he grinds too. Like a lot of people, a lot of competitive players who are really good, they grind their asses off. And so when you have a YCS champion making videos, it's not a surprise to me that people are going to watch. That's just something that's going to happen. And I think as we get more YCS toppers and champions making channels, they're going to grow. Like, look at Yassine, for example. Even though he doesn't get like 30K views a video, he still does pretty good numbers, at least in my opinion. There's Lucas Sacco, same thing. They're not cracking 10K views consistently, but that's just Yu-Gi-Oh content in general on the less interest of Yu-Gi-Oh in general. So I always looked at it as Yu-Gi-Oh on YouTube, you really can't relate it to normal YouTube. Unless you're trying to be a full-time YouTuber, then go all out and be a casual content creator because casual content for Yu-Gi-Oh is gonna get you more views than competitive content. For example, your Yu-Gi-Oh channel. He came back into the space, talked about his divorce, and the video did numbers and went viral. It hit it at the right place, right time. And he's still doing somewhat casual content, but he got to earn his stripes like he did back in the day. And I'm pretty sure he'll get there. But my main point, like I said, to wrap this video up, um, Yu-Gi-Oh on YouTube, the Yu-Gi-Oh TCG is all down because of poor decisions from Konami, and this is something that's been going on for years. Years. I want to say it started slowly in 2008 and slowly fumbled every freaking year. And the reason why, once again, everybody, toxic metagames, expensive cards, horrible reprints. I mean, the list go on. Complicated rulings, competition from different card games. I mean, need I say more? And then also, you develop something like Master Duel, just throw that in there, that kind of gives people a way that do enjoy the way you have the game, a way to play. That's taking attention away from actual going to locals, going to big events, and it really didn't grow the game like they thought it was going to do. Like, yeah, people downloaded Master Duel, they played it, got a lot of veterans to play it again who played it. Hell, I haven't played Yu-Gi-Oh in years. Like my buddy who haven't touched the Yu-Gi-Oh card in years, my boy from my childhood, and they play it casually, but it's not really like they're enjoying it. They're like, "Oh, this game's lame." I might hop on it here and there, but it's not really. It's not the Yu-Gi-Oh I grew up on. It ain't summon Blue Eyes White Dragon and attack, your monster, and I'm good. It's some bullshit. It's some. I gotta watch my opponent play with himself for 10 minutes. I might go pop me a TV dinner in the fridge in the microwave. Come back, sit down, eat my TV dinner, and then by the time I'm done eating, my opponent's turn is over, and then I can start my turn. Like that's not something people want to enjoy. But anyway, once again, shout outs to MBT, shout outs to everybody. Yeah, man, it's your boy Rogue doing another faceless discussion. Let me know how you guys like these in the comment section down below. Also, where you guys in the comment section, be sure to check out my description down below. Hit up the Discord. Make sure to also check out my channel sponsors. They help keeping the things going. We're on the road to 24K subs, and I'm out. Peace. See you guys in the next video.